we're doing all these marketing activities, how do we know whether we're doing the right things? Right? We could be spending a lot of time, maybe some money, to do these things. We need some measurement systems to see if what we're doing is the right thing, right? Everybody agree? Okay. So if we're going to do that, if we're going to, decided that we are going to measure our progress towards our goal, the questions that we need to ask. That's the first goal. All right, what am I trying to accomplish? Okay? And I would say to you all, if you ever talk to somebody who comes to you and says they are a marketing person, and they don't ask you this question first, before anything else, turn away and run as fast as you can. Okay? If they come in and say, you know what, you need a social media strategy. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It depends on what your goals are. Okay? And you need to know what those are. So we need to know what our goals are, because if we're measuring something, we got to know we're going towards the goal. All right, and then, okay, what should I measure? Determine if I'm moving towards my goals. And if I'm doing measurements, what KPIs should I track to gauge my progress? Right? These are good questions that they're easy to ask, tough questions to answer them. Okay, well, anybody have any thoughts about this before we jump in? Any thoughts about any of these questions in terms of how would you attack it, or how would you answer these questions?
So, question, in terms of the goals, are we talking about moving from the funnel, moving from the top to the next year? What are some goals for the marketing activity?
Okay, that's a great question. What are some goals for marketing? So there can be many things, but I'll give you an example. Maybe we want to get more. The goal of our marketing is we want people to become customers.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
That's
That's okay. But we back that up. So in order for them to become customers, typically we got a sales force that's going to help us sell our products. Well, maybe what we do as a result of marketing activities is we're going to create a bunch of qualified leads that the sales force is going to go sell, and they'll close close a fraction of them. So it might be the output of our marketing strategy is we've got to get qualified leads. Okay? Or it could be this, okay? It may not be about selling. It may be some companies for a while, they just want to develop their awareness or engagement, and they say, look, we just want to get 10,000 followers on Twitter. Because they think that's good. Or they want to have, I remember some goal, people said, we want to get, in the next 6 months, we want to get 1,000 likes on Facebook or our Facebook page. Because they in their minds, that's going to lead to, that was a start. So, okay. All right, there's a thing you've heard, return on investment. That's something a lot of people talk about nowadays. What's the ROI? And marketing is no different. Customers, or people, when they're spending money on marketing, they want to know, what's the return going to be, and how do we measure that? Because in the days before digital marketing, it was very difficult to measure the interim steps. So you take whatever your gross profit is, that was you realized from your marketing investments. So you spent all this money and time and money on these marketing activities, and it created new customers for you, and those new customers help you realize a gross profit. Okay, incremental profit to your business. All right, so what you have to do is you take that and you subtract what you invested and divide it by what you invested to get your ROI. And it can be, there's a lot of different, you say, well, what kind of number is a good number? Well, I mean, if you've got something that's 20%, 30%, I don't know any investments right now that are paying 30%. So, so that's the way. Now this is a black box. There's other ways, there's interim steps here, but this is to show you, okay, these are all my marketing activities and everything that I'm doing, and this turns out how much new revenue, new profit to my business. Okay? Everybody?
So I guess for gross profit, you just assumed that
It came from
the,
the marketing.
all the profit that you came from marketing because you wouldn't have reached new customers without that marketing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's the assumption and you'll say, well, how do we attribute that up? There's a thing called attribution work, and one of the things that has to come out of this is that you have to have some guidelines in terms of how you're going to attribute a marketing investment and how it attributed to realizing that gross profit. Okay, and marketers spend a lot of time. Was it our website, or how many times people were on our website, or did they download a white paper, or was it a sales conversation? What sequence of steps, and how many emails did we have to send to them before they became customers? And that's all trying to figure out attribution, to try to figure out these, on average, these sequence of activities and these mix of activities led to someone becoming a customer. This is going to be, this is not a one and done calculation, okay? This is kind of a living, breathing kind of thing, and you'll add to it and take away as you go along.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay. All right, and let's go back and look at the funnel here as we talk about KPIs, key performance indicators. As you remember, we needed to add value to get customers from the awareness stage to the engagement stage, to discovery, purchase, and retention, okay? And we talked about, as I remember, we're going to have different kinds of value and different things that are going to come out of our strategy that are going to be appropriate for this point in the marketing funnel. All right, well, I would tell you this, with the digital age now and the way the marketing's come, it used to be in the past that we would do all this, we would look here, and then we'd look to see if they became a customer. Because we couldn't really look, a lot of times in the old days, we couldn't really do any measurements in that part. But now we can. So now, we want to measure KPIs, key performance indicators, on how well customers are aware, or potential customers are aware of our products and offerings, okay? We want KPIs to find out how well they're engaged. I'm going to give you some examples here so you'll see this is not just an abstract concept. KPIs on how well to help us figure out whether customers are discovering that we can solve their problem for them. And then KPIs, of course, about sales and their purchasing. And then we want to have key performance indicators on how well we're going to retain customers. You talk about software as a service. They have a thing called the churn rate. How many of you have heard of churn? It's about how, and typically what happens is that they have the churn rate on things like that. It follows what we call a probability distribution. There's a probability that a certain amount of customers are going to leave after 1 month of service. Then there's a probability there's another set of customers after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And the company does a lot of analysis to try to figure out how they're going to reduce the number of people that are going to leave. Okay? All right, some examples of some KPIs for the awareness and engagement phase, the top of the funnel. Website traffic, okay? And there's a few things that come into that. I'll talk in the digital meeting. All right, the number in, how many of you have familiarity with Google Analytics? Okay? Anybody certified? Good for you. It's not an easy test to get through. All right, so here's one. How many unique visitors we got? How many repeat visitors do we have? Repeat visitors tell us, well, number one, if we want to, we talked about an awareness KPI. we want to increase the number of unique visitors to our website. Right? And then for engagement, we want to foster how many people come back to our website. Okay? Where did they come from? We love for them to come from organic search, right? Or did we send out an email to a bunch of people that we got permission to send the email to? You don't spam people. All right? Get their permission that you can, and give them, and also about emails is that also give them an opportunity in that email to unsubscribe. But we would want to know if people are coming to our website as a result of a email campaign. That's some good information, right? That if they are, that tells us that the emails are working. Or links from other sites. Maybe we've got a link or an ad or something from another site where that's advertised our business. We want to know if someone clicked on that, clicked through, and they came from that. We want to know where they came from. Real important information. And you can find all this out from Google Analytics, by the way. Want to know what pages people visited? That's always good to know. And how long did they spend on that page? Because that tells you if they're visiting a lot of pages in your website and they're spending a decent amount of time on there, that means that the stuff that you have on your website is interesting and it's relevant and it's doing its job. Okay?
Now they got it to the point where they can actually narrow down to what they were looking at on the website.
Right.
What?
And then here's another thing we'd like to know. If we've got content of blogs or posts or anything, our customers or potential customers, are they sharing our stuff? We'd love to know that. Right? How often? And who's sharing it? And where are they sharing it? Great information to know. And this is all you can get this now. Couldn't get it in the old days. Okay, and then bounce rate. Everybody know what bounce rate is for a website? I'm really talking digital marketing here. Bounce rate is the percentage of visitors that come to your website and then leave immediately. Okay? If you've got a bounce rate above 50%, you have a problem. What that's telling you is that when people come to your website, they're not finding things that are relevant and interesting to them, and they're leaving. Don't want that. So a high bounce rate tells, and you can find this out through Google Analytics, it'll tell you, a high bounce rate says you got a problem with your website. Not a technical problem with your website, but with the content. Okay, some more KPIs. All right, of your website, do prospects, if you have a call to action. You want, when customers come, they interact with your content either on your website or you talk to them on the phone and you're having a sales conversation or a coffee meeting. Okay, at the end of the meeting, you want to have the ask, not necessarily the order, but the call to action. You want to set up the next meeting. Okay? What is the next steps? Don't ever leave without knowing what the next steps are going to be. Because the customer's not going to suggest it to you. And that's the same thing on your website. People come to your website. What do you want them to do? Okay, maybe we want them to, maybe we got an ebook that talks about our business or talks about our value, or a white paper, and we want them to download it. Okay? And we can measure that, whether they have done that or not. Google Analytics, again, can tell you whether somebody's done that. Or maybe we have a video on our website. We can tell now whether somebody's watched the video and for how long they watched it. Did they watch it to the end? That'd be nice to know. Somebody that's watched it completely to the end, or if we got a lot of people watching it to the end, that tells you that any video you've got, it's working. Or even this is gold. They come and they leave their name and email address. You can't ask for anything better than Because what they've done is they've come and they've given you permission to contact them and to be in conversation with them. You can't get anything better than that. Okay? Or if you've got blogs, you're blogging about your business, you got visits to your site. Social media followers, we talked about that. Yeah, it's good to have a lot of social media followers, but in and of itself, it may not mean it. You could have a lot of people following you that really aren't interested in your business at all. But generally speaking, if you've got people coming and they're following you, or they're liking your Facebook page, or they're engaging with your content on LinkedIn, that's good. At least they're noticing you. Okay, industry trade shows. One of the things that we want to find out, if we're going to a trade show, typically, and this is also with a sales conversation, are we going to get a meeting with the right person? Okay? The decision maker. And if we're going to meet somebody at a show or at an event, chances are we've got to do a lot of work ahead of time to make sure that that meeting happens. We have to engage with them either on the phone or through email or through a variety of different ways in order to get it so that it is worth their time to take a meeting with us at a show. But you got to think about it this way: what's in it for them? I mean, and that maybe you have to do the work before, some of that work you have to do before that meeting. Okay? And that's one thing I'm talking about, engagement KPIs. They're not all online. It may be in a case of, we had a phone call, we had an email. Did the prospect answer both of those? If they did, what was the response? Those kinds of things. Nowadays, what it takes, if you're going to reach out to a customer to get them to make a decision, how many times you have to touch them or reach out to them? Anybody know how many times it is now? 7. I've heard 9, 10. Yeah. So, and how many people? Maybe you wouldn't be surprised. How many people after the first or second time they don't get a response, they quit, they give up. Can't do that. Okay. So yeah, about one-on-one meetings. Keep in touch strategy. Okay. And then discovery, purchase, and retention. Okay, your content strategy. Your content strategy is not the content or your blogs or the copy that's on your website. The content strategy is how are you going to provide the right content at the right time as you're moving prospective customers through the marketing funnel. And the SCORE people could probably help you with that. I mean, that's something we do at ROAR, but making sure that you're providing the right information at the right time. You could be doing it like I'm doing this, seminars, because I help try to communicate my value through seminars so people can see what I know about marketing or don't know. Case studies. These are worth their weight in gold. Case studies are stories or essays where you describe how you've delivered value to other customers. And I will tell you that prospective customers like to read those because they don't want to feel like they're a guinea pig. And they want to know that what they're also trying to do is they're trying to minimize any risk. And if they see that you've done this, they can read about how you provided value and you did a great job with somebody else, that alleviates their fears and helps them mitigate the risk they might feel in going with you.
Does that mean the same thing as testimonials?
Yeah. Case studies you may write, you may not have a customer, like a talking head customer saying something. This may be, say, like, for example, I might say, Roar, we worked with XYZ company, and the marketing strategy that we brought to them helped increase their marketing qualified leads by X amount. That sort of thing. Okay? product information, special offers, customer surveys. There's a whole science to surveys and how to construct a good survey for a customer. And how many of us get asked to complete surveys? I get them all the time. And a lot of them, I would sooner, just stick needles in my eyes than do these surveys. But there are ways that you can do them, and it depends on how it's put across. Again, what's in it for the customer? Why should they fill out this survey?
Chicken sandwich.
Sandwich. Yeah. Loyalty programs. Okay, and then see the whole thing about this is I talked about attribution before. The whole idea, and we talk about this in the marketing ROI, is what we want to try to do and try to figure out based on your target market and based on how they get their information, how they interact with you. We want to find out what mix and what sequence of these activities are going to lead to revenue, and that whole process is called attribution. So maybe it's a case of that when we had a customer, they first engaged with us on social, and where we tweeted out that we're going to do a webinar. And okay, not everybody that got our tweet about social is going to be on the webinar, but we got a good amount of people that signed up for the webinar. Okay, and as a result of that, the webinar, maybe some of them gave us their contact information so we could send a follow-up email to them. Well, they did give us their contact information. So we can send out a follow-up email with more value or something to, tell them, hey, thank you so much for listen to our webinar. Here's the transcript. Here's some more slides, or here's some other information that we didn't cover in the webinar. Okay? And then from that, maybe, for example, then after that, they start reading some of the blogs we've got. I don't know, I'm just picking these out. And then from that, they became customers. But the whole thing is that companies are trying to every company is trying to figure out what mix and what sequence of these activities leads to, in general, leads to somebody becoming a customer. And that's something that you do need to, as you go forward, you're not going to know this starting out, but as time goes on and your marketing strategy takes hold, you're going to know what works and what doesn't. So that's a really important concept there.